Hi, so what it do, YouTube? It's your boy Supreme King Z, aka the Red ID, coming to another video. And today is what if Deku had Murasame. So I was supposed to post this like 2 days ago because this is the 100 sub special, and I didn't feel like it, and I had stuff to do, and so yeah. So the only way that this will work is that Imperial arms exist in the Boku no Hero timeline. So the ones that are found are the ones that have been passed down in a family heirloom. So they have been passed down, and is the people in this timeline that have them. Well, the people that are, well, that Deku meets in the what if time. Well, y'all know what I mean. So let's hop into the story. So we start off at a black-haired kid at the edge of a roof, looking down to see no one there, and then he hears something in his head. Quirkless Deku. She used to swan dive off the top of a roof just to see if you would get another, well, just to see if you can get a quirk in general after you die. Then this will play over and over and over until something in his head breaks. Then he loses all pigments in his eyes, and he walks back, and then he runs full speed and jumps and swan dives, but instead of hitting the ground, he landed on his feet by a black long-haired woman with a black cloak on, with black and white, well, with black and red, well, clothes on, with a sword on her back. And she would say, I don't think you should be trying to kill yourself. And why are you trying to kill yourself, first of all? And then Deku would say, I'm quirkless, and most of the people that are quirkless in our society are bullied, and they are useless to the society, so I'm just trying to end it all right here. And then she would say, what about your parents? What would they think? And then Deku would say, I only have my mom. My dad is... And then he would trail off. And then she would say, what would your mom think of this? How would your mom feel if you decided to commit suicide? And then he would think about his mom and how devastated she would feel. And then he would start to tear up. And then she would say, don't cry, because I'm quirkless too. It's just that I have trained most of my life to get this strong and powerful. And most of the time I don't even use the sword that I have on my back. And she would show her sword that has a seal on the handle. And then he would say, why do you have a sword? And then she would say, it's a family heirloom that has been passed through the generations of my family. He would say, oh, well, if you wouldn't mind, could you train me? Because I am, well, gonna try and participate in the UA entrance exams. And then she would say, alright. And then he would walk the same path that he did in canon would get him trapped, well, get him captured by the sludge villain. And this time he would try to pit up more of a fight, and he would try to fight back even more, but it was to no use because he was powerless. Oh, he couldn't do anything until a gust of wind hit him and the sludge villain, blowing the sludge villain off of Deku. Well, you can call him Deku, Midoriya, Izuku. Those are all his names. It's just that everyone usually, like a few certain people, call him Deku, and mostly everybody calls him Midoriya. So yeah, it's either one that y'all want to pick. I really don't care. I say Deku because it's like I have some making a thumbnail that has Izuku or Midoriya. Like, I don't feel like doing that. Like, come on now, too much work. So yeah, and then Izuku would fall to his knees, and then he would cough, and he would gain the wind back into his lungs, and then he would look up to see the number one hero, the almighty All Might. I almost forgot his name for a second. But shit. He would look up, and then All Might would say, "Are you alright, my boy?" And then Izuku would say, "Yes," and start fanboying over him. And then All Might would gather up the sludge villain and put him into his pocket. And then Izuku would ask him to autograph a few things. And then All Might felt his transformation about to go away, but Deku didn't know. And then he tried to jump away, but then he heard something behind him to see Izuku hanging onto his leg, and as he was jumping from building to building, the bottle dropped, and a few kids walked past it, and one of them was Katsuki Bakugo, the voice in Izuku's head that told him to swan dive off the roof. And then he kicked the bottle, and the cap rolled off. And then a sludge villain came out and wrapped around Katsuki. And then he screamed for help. And then a few people called 911 as heroes, and multiple people would come, and they would wait there because the sludge villain was threatening to kill him. And then we get back to All Might and Deku as All Might's form All Might's transformation would go away, as Deku would see his skin to the bone of All Might, as he would say, "Where's All Might?" And then the man would say, "I am All Might." Well, I'm not the All Might that I was back then. And then he would say, then All Might would say, the fight that I had with One For All had me permanently damaged, even though they stitched me up. I can only go into that form for a few hours, and then he would show his scar, and then Deku would ask, "Can I become a hero?" As All Might would say, "You can become anything you want. Anything. Because I was quirkless just like you. But I still became the #1 hero. And I will train you because you will be the one who inherits my power, one for all." And then he would explain how one for all works as they would walk down the building. Well, not literally like walk like Naruto that shit and walk down the building. Like they would have said like the building and they started walking down through the levels and shit like that. So Deku would be walking back to his house, taking another route. Well, taking the same route, but just going on the opposite side. And then he would pass up a group of people, and he would go and he would push past it just to see his school bully, Katsuki Bakugo, well, gasping for air. And then he would be letting off explosions as Deku would look at his face and see the despair in his eyes as he would look around to see no hero jumping into action as he would do. As he would jump into action and he would try to rip the sludge villain off of him. Then the sludge villain would try to take both of them, and then a bigger gust of wind hit Katsuki and Izuku, and then they would look up. Everyone would see All Might as he was waiting in the crowd to let his power build up. And oh fuck, I fucked up. I kinda did, because it was supposed to happen. Like, it was supposed to happen after this shit happened. Like, he was supposed to get his power out. Like he was supposed to be like talk to him and shit. Like, he was gonna talk to him about the shit. Like, yeah, I kind of fucked up, but no biggie. I got y'all in the next one. If it's not gonna slip up, I swear to God, it's not. What the next My Hero? What a Boku no Hero? Yeah, so yeah. Alright, so then I'm just gonna switch it up, say that talk never happened, but like he did show him the star and shit like that, and so they would have to talk right after that because All Might would capture the sludge villain, give it to the heroes and the police, as they would all leave as All Might would walk Izuku back home, as then he would start to tell him that only a true hero would jump into action. And then he would start talking to him about how he did in canon. And then he would say, you are the person who would inherit my power, one for all, to counteract the villain's quirk, all for one. And Deku would say, but my body is so frail, I don't think I can handle it. And then All Might would say, yes, I know, my boy. That's why I will train you for these few months. And Deku would say, alright, as he would walk into the house, having a new determination to become the #1 hero. And that is why I'll be leaving it up. Not playing. I'm playing with y'all. Alright, so I'm gonna talk about the training, and I'm gonna do the entrance exams and shit like that. So yeah, I'm not ending it up that quick. Like, y'all already know me. It's like either 27, 29, or somewhere in the late 20s. Like, the video gotta be somewhere in the late 20s, like, or 30s, early 30s. Like, come on now. Like, come on now. Alright, so Naruto. Fuck. I've been making too many Naruto what ifs. Alright, so Deku would wake up early and go to where the meetup place where the woman said to meet up, and she would say, yesterday I forgot to introduce myself. I am Akame the third, my fourth great grandmother is the first who wielded this power, this sword, and her sister had wielded the other sword. They are basically the same, so I'll give you this one, and I can keep this one. I'll give you my grandmother's, and I'll keep my aunt's. And then Deku would say, alright, and she would say, well, no, whatsoever, you would use that on a villain, because that kills them instantly. Because my grandmother was an assassin. She had to kill swiftly, so she used the sword most of the time. That kills people in a few seconds. So we will use practice sword, and then she would say, put that on your back, and he would get a holster to hoist it onto his back, as he would say, alright, I'm ready, as she would throw a regular katana at him, as he would catch it, and she would say, well, to start off, I will be using a wood katana, as you would be using the real one. And then he would say, alright, but isn't that a little much for a woman? And then she would say, don't underestimate me, because I'm a woman. As she would vanish and appear in front of him, hitting his kneecap, knocking him onto his knee, as she would chop him in the back of the neck with the wooden katana, and then he would be on the ground, and then she would say, you still want to judge me now? As he would say, no ma'am, I apologize. And then he would get up and grab the handle with two hands and run at her, trying to swing and swing, as she would vanish and appear behind him, tapping him in the back with the handle, which would make him trip over his own footing, as he would trip and hit his face first into the ground. As he would get back up and try it over again, each way she countered it over and over again until it became dark. And then she told him to go home, and then he said alright, as he would go home, as his mother would ask him, where have you been? And then he would say, I've been training with one of my friends. As she would say, I'm glad, as she would tear up, because Izuku has been depressed all the time, gloomy. So this is a new changer for him, as she would feel happiness for her son, as he would eat and go to bed, as he would wake up the next morning to go train with All Might. as he would meet him at the beach. As All Might would say, you will be picking up all the trash on this beach, which is named Daguma Municipal Beach Park. As Izuku would say, what? As he would start to stutter and trying to get a word out, as he would see all the trash that is on the beach, and he would say, I can't get this up. As All Might would say, sure you can. Just try your hardest. And he would try to pick it up. He would pick up something that I wouldn't get. As this would go on, all the training from both of them would go on. As Deku would be stronger than a cannon. And the 12 months would pass as he would have started training by himself just to improve his power. As he would train his speed, running laps, miles, doing how many push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, bench presses, lifting dumbbells, lifting weights as much as he could to get him stronger. So, and also do his sword training with a wooden sword instead of with a real sword. As he would be able to cut Okame, and he would finish all the trash on the beach as All Might would feel happy as he would say, here, and pluck a hair from his head and say, eat this, as Akame would give him his sword and say, you have earned it. And then he would say, because this is in 2 different times, he would say, thank you, Master, to Akame. And he would say, thank you, All Might, to All Might. As he would go home and go to sleep, as he would feel a surge of power when he woke up, not feeling right. He didn't feel normal. As he would get up, do his usual, and he would go to UA as he would go to take the exams. But in this, his body is more defined, so it will show through his clothes, as most of the girls would be around him, as Ida would come up and say, what quirk do you have? Do you have a persuasion quirk? Because this is not right, as he would be karate chopping air. As Deku would say with a blush and say, nah, it's really not. No, it's not. Actually, I just have this sword in there, as he would pull out the sword, as he would unsheath it, as one of the girls would try to touch the blade, as he would quickly sheath it back and say, no, don't touch it. if you touch it, you will die in less than 5 seconds. And then they would say, why? And then he would say, because this blade is an imperial arm. It's the imperial arm, Murasame, the poison blade, the one hit killer. Then they would say, you have the one hit killer, Murasame, the imperial arm. As more girls would start to gather around him, as he would see Bakugo, as Bakugo would say, move out of my way, nerd. As Deku would say, but you came over here, Hachan. Why are you getting mad at me? As Bakugo would say, yeah, but move out my way. Move out my way right now, shitty Deku. And then Midoriya would say, isn't there a nicer way to say that? And then he would say, are you testing me, Deku? As he would let off explosions. As Ida would say, it's not right to use your quirk on school grounds. As then Bakugo would say, shut up, Four Eyes. And then Deku would say, alright. And then he would move out the way. And then Bakugo would say, that's what I thought. And then Deku would unsheath his sword and point it at his neck and saying, if I draw blood right now, you will die under 5 seconds. And his eyes would have no pigment in it. And he would say this at a low voice that emitted malice. As Bakugo would say, what is this? How did he change so much in the past 11 months? I don't know what this is, and I want to find out, because I'm going to become the #1 hero, and there's nothing anyone can tell me. So this is the end of the video. So it's deuces, son.